All right. Test. We good? The bar was moving. So.
Now it's moving. I think we're on. Check it out. Test it out.
Somebody call in. Oh, man. Amazing.
Outstanding.
No, don't fucking sing outstanding. This is not outstanding. This is the opposite of outstanding.
All right, well, are we on the air? If anyone's listening, can you tell us if we're on the air right now?
Yo, shout out to Ryan, friend of the show and listener. She was like, I only hear sound effects. I'm like, fuck, we had a really great intro. Damn it. I mean, so technically, I guess we could just play it and start over right now in this moment. Do you want to? Just
go for it.
Reboot the show?
All right. Don't stop it, though, because I already shared out the link.
No, but I mean, I'll just restart the song.
And now we have no video sound on here.
Oh, this is hilarious.
Stop pushing shit, bro. Stop touching shit. Just leave it. Fuck it.
Now we can't hear
We can't hear the video. Fuck it. Can we hear the sound effects?
Hold on. Let's see who's in the chat. This is... Okay, we're on the air. Shout out to Ryan. She says we're on the air. But now I can't hear a goddamn thing.
All right, well, we can't hear any sound effects, so I don't really care. This is your usual Thursday NFL spot. Context for the culture.
Why?
Stop crying, bro. Touchdowns and tangents, your usual Thursday NFL spot. Live from the Good News radio station. I'm PD Camarillo.
And I'm Kenneth Frank Jamesberry.
Real quick, some house maintenance. Shout out to the Replay affiliates, X Squad Radio. We love you. Thanks for being great people and supporting the show. Shout out to FPC Radio, FPC Raiders, and the whole squad over there for also supporting us. Catch our replays there. Other than that, you know what it is, the Good News radio station. You can also find this podcast on your favorite podcast app. And if you actually like the show and fuck with the show, or even if you fucking hate it, leave us a review, leave us some feedback. Whatever the case, give us some feedback. But yeah, man, so I guess we were on the air for about 30 minutes without being on the air. What's new? It seems like an every week occurrence. But yeah, besides all that, let's get to the shits. Real quick.
Yeah, I'm just going to sum up everything I said. I feel like all fans who rushed,
we actually had a really good conversation about that. I'm really upset nobody heard it. Basically, KB was saying that if you're a fan and you get out of line, that you should be snuffed on site by security guards.
And if you die, I won't cry for your family. Fuck you. You don't pay to go up there and harass athletes.
And basically,
and the NFL is the only sport where dudes don't just run full speed into a fan just streaking across the field and just drive their fucking head into their cranium. Honestly, you should do it. You should be arrested, and we should all laugh at you and mock you for being stupid. And Bostonians are shitty people. Boston fans, but yeah, Boston has just a notorious.
But yeah, that was in reference.
Fans are notoriously shitty. Red Sox fans, Patriot fans, they're trash.
Slow down.
And I'm really mad the Red Sox are predicting the World Series.
That's in reference to the whole New England Patriots fan who threw a beer
and spat at
Tyreek Hill because, well, we don't know, because he's an entitled asshole who doesn't give a fuck about the kids around him watching or give a fuck about the team that he supposedly supports or really gives a fuck about anything, because I'm pretty sure he knows better to be sitting that low. I'm sure he works for a nice corporation and makes a nice salary and damn well would not act that way at work. So why are you acting that way at a sporting game in public? Because you're entitled, because you're an asshole, and you think Patriots fans care what you think. You think the Chiefs care what you think. You think Tyreek Hill cares what you think. That's not the case, man.
They banned him for life, so good for the Patriots. But
which is something we never say on this podcast.
Yeah, I think
we never doubt.
He should have been beaten and had beers thrown at him and rocks thrown at him. I hope his car got all the tires stripped bald. And fuck that guy. I hope the rest of his year is terrible.
And the other topic we were talking about,
no right to do that to athletes,
was Vontaze Burfict. This past week, he had another crazy hit that was dirty and should probably get him kicked out the league, but somehow he still perseveres. Basically, what I was saying is I was providing my insight as someone who played against him back in high school.
Got his ass beat by him in high school.
Yeah. Basically, man, he's always been that player. He's always been that overly aggressive player, that player who always makes it about himself. This dude, like, we literally watched on film one time. He made a tackle and, like, made it look like his helmet popped off, but really he just popped it off manually just so he could celebrate with his helmet off. I'll never forget that. Outside of that, though, like, this dude was really a great athlete back then. He was a great player, and, like, he really was a man amongst boys. Like, when you think about that metaphor, that's literally what I think about. Because
5-star recruit.
He was, like, as fast as our receivers, but as big as our tackles, and it made no damn sense. But, yeah, that was the case.
But also, ASU ruined a bunch of players in your region.
Yeah, pretty much.
Will Sutton.
All them Centennial dudes and a bunch of Norco dudes went there.
Oh, yeah, and all the you said Norco High School and a bunch of other schools. There's a history of dirty players in that region.
Yeah, pretty much that's what I was saying. Anyone who's familiar with those schools knows Norco and Corona play dirty. They've always played dirty, mainly because Norco isn't as fast as everyone because they're largely a team that's all white.
Toby Gerhart, whitest running back name ever.
And Norco, well, actually, it's a whole family.
Yeah, his whole family's athletes, but they're
like it's
uber white.
Oh my God, bro! His sisters are the best softball players I've ever seen in my life. I literally watched them one game come up and just smacking home runs in softball, bro. That was crazy.
That athlete,
but
the family's freakishly athletic.
Yeah,
because they had a quarterback.
Steroids. But that's just my regional bias. Besides all the steroids, let's talk about.
Shout out to South Torrance for having a bunch of athletes who were on steroids back when I played.
And Corona's always that blue-collar team that's undersized, hella Mexican, and really those two teams haven't competed with Centennial in like 20 years, so their only hopes of competing is essentially poking people in the eyes, stomping people, socking people out in piles.
A trash-ass Hawthorne High, they did that. One of my teammates in 2010, they broke his ankle in a pile. I said before the game, hey, and during film study, don't end up in a pile because they're 0-42 and they will try to injure you, and they did.
So pretty much since Centennial came up as kind of the new school compared to those two schools when they first started, they kind of inherited that culture by osmosis, and so they've kind of owned it on their own. They don't need to be dirty anymore because, well, they just have the best athletes in the area and they're well coached. And they're a great team. They've been for like a decade at least. But yeah,
shout out to Compton Centennial for actually doing some dirty shit back in the day too. I don't care if it is Kendrick Lamar's high school. They were playing with cats who I'm pretty sure who were over at 19. But whatever.
But yeah, my main question to you was on this topic was how has a player like Vontaze Burfict somehow still persevered in this league and doesn't necessarily have the same blackball reputation as someone like Aqib Talib or Ndamukong Suh, who are both actually well-prepared, well-respected, great football players and actually do a lot of good in the community.
My point pretty much was and is because Vontaze Burfict has never been great. Like, I remember Odell Thurman, who was the first-round pick out of Georgia for the Bengals, and he was really the guy. He was great fresh out the gate, but he had drug issues and all that stuff. And kind of got pushed out the league. But I look at a guy like Vontaze Burfict, who's had all types of issues. Just let him stay. It's not like he's the Rodney Harrison type player, who Rodney Harrison was elite at one point for his position. But like, he's just dirty as hell and he sticks around, and it's like, why is he the linchpin of the Bengals defense for some reason? He's really kind of just like, you could replace Vontaze Burfict and be fine. But for whatever reason, he sticks around. I think he'd been great in the old era of football. But in this particular case, in this time, I'm surprised he's not the one getting all the roughing the passer calls and all these other calls instead of guys like Clay Matthews, guys like Wendell Hayes or whoever. It's just ridiculous to me that this dude is still in the league. Like, it was one thing with Hines Ward, who, by the way, ended Keith Rivers' career after that blindside hit that broke his jaw instantly. He played physical. Yeah, he was kind of dirty, but he was also a great player. So he was respected, but he was a great player. And I still say Isaac Bruce is better than Hines Ward. Pete, I'm right, but whatever. In this particular case with a guy like Burfict, he gets by on the fact that he's so physical and can play so physical. And let's be honest, all coaches have that one guy on the team who's
that they enable, that they favor.
They enable his violence and his destructive ways because they know the team needs it.
Except for it literally cost him a playoff game 2 years ago, the last time they were in the playoffs.
Yeah, him and Adam Jones. Who, by the way, he's on IR because I think he broke his leg or something. He got embarrassed when the Jets played the Broncos and he got ran over.
All right, man. Well, that's enough for talking about things we already talked about. Let's move on to some new content. Man, shout out to Paul Allen,
R.I.P.
Co-founder of Microsoft. Owner of the Seattle Seahawks, and I think he owns the Portland Trailblazers too.
He owns the Trailblazers.
Yeah, big personality in the Pacific Northwest.
Got them a new stadium.
Made both those teams relevant. Shout out to him, man.
Died at 65. They announced a couple weeks ago his cancer came back. It was like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Who Andre Hall, the Texan safety, he has that, but his is in remission. He's actually back practicing.
Yeah, he's actually been practicing. But yeah, man, cancer is real, and it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much influence you got or how many teams you own. Cancer don't play, man. It's unfortunate. But yeah, outside of that, I know you wanted to talk about somebody else who died this week, so why don't you go ahead and let people know?
He actually died last week, but we just forgot to mention it because we were talking about so much stuff. George.
And I was reckless.
Yeah, you were pretty reckless last week. You came in hot. George Taliaferro. He was the first African-American drafted in the National Football League. Died October 8th of this year. Went to Indiana. From Indiana. And played halfback, quarterback. Was drafted in the 13th round, the 129th overall pick in the 1949 NFL draft. And, man, he played all types of positions. Was a pioneer. And definitely somebody that history should not forget. He was 90 years old.
Why doesn't he have as much clout as, let's say, Jackie Robinson or anybody else?
Well, it's twofold. The same way people hype on Jackie Robinson, they forget a lot about his brother was way better than him. And there was an issue at the time of, like, Jackie Robinson was seen by a lot of black people. And these aren't my words or my perspective. This is just history I'm stating. They saw him as a coon because he sucked up to white people and he took all that abuse when there's a lot of black people at the time, like his brother, who weren't going to stand for that. So Jackie Robinson's kind of propped up by a lot of white people and a lot of teams in baseball, but then you forget about Ernie. You forget about, like, all the great Negro League baseball players who didn't want to cross over and didn't want to deal with that. I forget his name. Josh. So I keep forgetting his name. It was Josh something. But like, you have guys like Satchel Paige, was a pitcher who played until he was 50. Jackie Robinson's brother was better. You have guys like that who are, and this is just the cultural side and the politics of athletics way back then. A lot of those teams that had white owners and white coaches and everything and GMs and all that, they wanted to pick, let's say, a comfortable Negro, an athlete who essentially wasn't going to stir up controversy, wasn't going to be a guy like Jack Johnson and stir up a bunch of shit and do what he did. So that's why, because Jackie Robinson later in life was on the record going at guys like Malcolm X, MLK, like disparaging them, and a couple other black leaders. So that's where there's kind of a rift. Depending on older black people who you ask, there's a really bad rift in history with that. But with black players back then playing football, integration, you already know most of them are going to get looked over, and they were damn sure going to get looked over for playing quarterback. So that's why Tyler Farrell, a guy like him, played so many different positions. They weren't willing to ever play a black player at QB. So with him, you find out, he was great. He was a great athlete and played all these other positions. Race played a huge factor in the 40s and the 50s.